GJRLP-FM, Clinton.
Now, GJRB brings you Way Out There. This is the show that talks about the weird, the bizarre, the unusual. From UFOs to paranormal to near-death experiences to government conspiracies. This is the place to listen to for the truth. Now, here's Jerry Wallace.
Hello everyone, hello everywhere across America and around the world. I'm Gary J. Russ and welcome to Way Out There, the show that talks about the strange, the bizarre, the unusual, the things that otherwise we just can't explain for any reason whatsoever other than it's just bizarre. You know what I'm saying? Got a great show tonight. I'll be talking about some interesting stuff tonight. Including some more strange booms being heard. We're going to play a segment from Linda Moulton Howell. She's going to talk about some strange sounds that have been coming out, including strange trumpet sounds. And that's where I'm going to ask for your help here on Spreaker, as I'll be talking about that. It's one of those really interesting topics. Because a lot of people don't realize that these strange sounds are coming from somewhere. Don't know where. Metal against metal. The sound of the scraping like that. Trumpet sounds. And loud booms. Especially in areas where there really isn't any industry. One of them is, here in Clinton, Iowa, where I'm from here, where I'm broadcasting from, we have an industry called ADM, which is Archer Daniels Midland. ADM is a well-known site in which it's a lot of industry there. That's a big industry here in town. And they do. There's a lot of banging, and banging noises come from that. There's been reports of this also in nearby Davenport. And they have said that there's been weird sounds coming from the sound of booms in Davenport, where there is some industry there too as well. And we're going to talk about that tonight. Also coming up tonight, part 4 in our series on Technocracy. Remember, straight Technocracy, we're talking about that. That is a book that Technocracy Rising, a book written by Patrick Wood, talking about how technocracy, going way, way, way back to the 1930s, had been a plan in place to control us through technology. And we're going to talk a lot about that. They've said that there's been various things that they are doing to experiment with different things. So we'll have something on that. Pretty interesting. Let's see what other stuff is going on. We're going to talk about, later on in the show, I'm going to do I have a real good story on our Strange But True segment tonight. Really strange story. If any of you remember the TV series Night Gallery, there's an episode called The Tune in Dance Café. It was about a small roadside bar that had a jukebox that kept on playing this same song over and over again, like it had its own mind. And there's a guy in Missouri that apparently had purchased a jukebox. And they believe this is the jukebox that was used in that episode of Night Gallery. So we're going to talk about that. Very interesting story there about this jukebox. So we're going to have that on. And I'm going to start my series on hell. You know, and I'm not doing this to scare anybody. Okay. basically what I'm doing is the intention to let you see, make you see exactly how serious we are about this. This is a real place, folks. In my show prep, I was going to find the original sound. At one time, they had put a very powerful microphone in the bowels of the earth, way, 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 way down. And it picked up what sounded like tortured screams. And Art Bell played it many, many, many times on his program. And it's a real scary sound, puts chills to the spine if you listen to it. He's played it numerous times. And I want to see if I can find it tonight. I'll see if I can find it while I'm on the air, because it is spooky. And people realize that hell's real, folks. This is no game. And we're going to talk about, the fact that you don't want to be there. So we're gonna play a couple of clip. We're gonna play a clip of a series from what we're now doing here on our way out there, called Slapped Ham. Now, Slapped Ham is a channel on YouTube. It's absolutely fabulous. If you got to check this out and subscribe to it, because this guy has some of the most interesting stories in segment of videos, kind of circulating in length from 11 to maybe 15 minutes. The most he's ever done, I think, is 13. And he has strange stories, like the top 10 weird things. He has various topics, and we're going to have a few about time travel tonight, interdimensional travel. It's going to be a fun show. So I hope you'll tune in tonight. This is our first Way Out There in the evening. I'm going to try this out to see what I get out of it. I mean, I like doing nighttime programming, and I'm planning on doing a little bit more this summer to see if I can get audience share here, because I'm not getting it in the daytime. So I'm going to start doing shows in night too. And this is going to be one of the shows we're going to air spontaneously as a extra episode of Way Out There. Now, Way Out There will still be heard in its regular time slot in week 3. We'll still air that in its regular time slot in week 3. But right after the last 7 days. But in addition to that, I'm going to be having Way Out There's at night. And this is the experimental episode broadcast at night of Way Out There. And I think it's a great lead-in for Dave Scott's Spaced Out Radio, which will come on right after this here on Spreaker and on Spreaker FM. And I thought, wow, what a great way. Why don't I put this show on at night at 8 o'clock in the evening to 11 and bump it right up there to Spaced Out Radio to follow us? I mean, it's absolutely fabulous and a great time slot. So we're going to see what happens here and see if we get some numbers. And we'll see if there's anybody out there who wants to listen to some really weird, bizarre stuff. We got a lot of really neat stuff coming up tonight. And we're going to talk a lot about aliens and junk like that. We're going to have, later on tonight, I'll be reading some comments from you. And if you are in the Spreaker chat room, if you're just picking this up now, thank you. I hope you tune in. Join me in the chat room. Again, you can just join me by getting into the Spreaker, by getting to www.spreaker.com/user/150525, or just go GJRB Online Network. Just type that in the, go into Spreaker, www.spreaker.com, type that in the search engine. It'll directly take you to the GJRB Online Network site. And you can also listen on Twitter. And I am the Radio Maniac. You see this, get on Twitter, and you'll see this Antique Radio. And it has GJRB Online next to it. As a matter of fact, I got to change that to, I'm going to need to change the name of it to GJRB Online Network, too. Right now it's not, but I'm going to have to change that. But anyway, you can listen to our show right there on Twitter. And you can't. Sometimes when you're browsing, it kind of goes away. It stops. So I would suggest you listen to it on Twitter on one tab, and then go to open up another tab, and if you want to browse Twitter in another tab, I think you could still listen to the show. So either way, glad you could be with me, though. We're going to have a good time. We got some really fun stuff to talk about. So we're going to get ready to go into the bizarre, the unusual, way out there, here on GJRB Online, here on Spreaker. Thanks a lot for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed the program tonight. Right now, though, let's check out... first of all, let's... why is this... okay, I'm going to have to... okay. Oh, yeah, let me see. We got... first of all, why don't we take a look at some news? Just a brief look at some news going on. First off, let's see what we got here. We have some friend requests on our... we've been getting some friend requests. By the way, Fabulous, we just added on to my YouTube... on my Facebook page, and I also subscribe to their YouTube channel. We got the Summers of Alaska on there, so absolutely fabulous. We'll have to get a hold of you, see if we can do an interview segment real soon here. We got some. He's a fabulous family in Fairbanks, Alaska. So we're going to talk a bit about them. I'm thinking about having them on as a guest on our program. So welcome aboard, and hope you'll stay with me tonight. Now I've got to get used to saying tonight because I'm so used to saying this afternoon. And I'll have to check this out later. I got some friend requests here and see what those are. And then while we're doing that, I'm going to flip over and see. We got some people. Haven't heard from you on... oh, yeah, well... You guys not going to hear me too much on there because you guys are making me pay to get listeners. And I really would like to have listeners for free. I mean, I don't have enough listeners as it is. So, I mean, you need to give me a break on that once in a while. Give me some kind of discount or something. Anyway, let's see what we got here. Some brief news from my YouTube. See, I'm doing that again. Brief news from my Facebook page right now. From CBN, the Trump administration is predicting a growth of up to 3% in the coming years. Chief economist Mark Zandi says he expects the growth for this year to be 2.2%, close to the average for the past 10 years. So, wow, that's a big, strong increase there. Let's see, I'm waiting for that to open. Let's see if there's any more on that story. This is from CBN News, which is one of our sources. And the internet's running slow, just a little pokey tonight. So if I do sound like I'm a bad CD, I'm sorry about that. It just happens because the internet's slow. Anyway, the economy has saw a solid 3.2% annual rate in the first 3 months of the year, and is far better outcome expected for overcoming a host of headwinds, including global weakness, rising trade tensions, and partial government shutdown. The advance of the gross domestic product and the broadest measure of economic health marks the acceleration of from 2.2% gain in a previous October-December period. The Commerce Department reported Friday, however, that half of the gain is reflected two factors, but expected to last: a big jump, stockpiling by businesses, and sharp contractions on the trade deficit. Still, the GDP gain surpassed about 3%, bar set by President Trump. Evidence says economic program is working, and Trump is counting on a strong economy as he campaigns for his re-election. Let's see what other ones. I'm going to, out of curiosity, since we're on talking about the stock market, I am going to do that right now. I'm going to go into the stock exchange real quick from the GJRB CNN stock ticker, and let's check out to see how Friday closed in today's stock market. Today's closing, the Dow Jones Industrial Average closed a little lower than the other day when we were on the air. It was like 175 points tonight. The Dow Jones Industrial Average closed at 81 points. The NASDAQ up 27.716, and the S&P is up 13 points. And let's see what other stuff is going on. Let me see what we got here. We'll have some more news stories about weather in the news here coming up. I'm going to open my Twitter, because I always get some really good weather news from Twitter. Not that I ever do from Facebook, because Facebook does give me sometimes, but I get better weather news from Twitter. So I usually use them first when it comes to weather, because they are absolutely incredible, by far. They are. So I go with them when it comes to weather. So I'm clicking in and signing into Twitter right now, and see what we got here. And the scroll through social media. There's our show right there. I'm looking at it. Way Out There, episode 107, April 26, 2019, with the big red dot next to the antique radio, with Knight, Sterling, and Wallace next to it. Some of the tags on there. Along with that, we got Dave Scott on here. Let's see what we're going to talk about him here a little bit. Like I said before, I think this show is going to be a great lead-in for him. It's his today's thought of the Dave, and we'll see if we can get some answers for him on this one. What do you think about the U.S. Navy now cataloging UFO reports from its pilots and staff? So we'll read some answers on that one. Let me see what other ones we got here down the ways. Stuff from the Blaze. Here we go. Here's a storm just rolled into Charlottesville. We'll talk about that coming up. From Virginia. Pretty good storm there. Wow. Check that out later on here when we get into our weather on the fives. Meanwhile, I'm going to check out some other stuff here, some other news that coming down the pike here on Way Out There. So let's continue with that, and then we will go into our weather in the news, weather on the fives, take a little break, and then we'll start into our show and get into what strange but true. Trump is withdrawing from. Oh, here's an interesting one. Trump withdraws from UN arms treaty as the NRA crowd cheers in delight. This story, coming from The Guardian, Trump is withdrawing, and this is a report. Donald Trump has announced that the U.S. will withdraw its support for the United Nations treaty regulating the multi-billion-dollar global arms trade. Addressing the National Rifle Association, the NRA, in Indianapolis, the president said he will revoke America's status as a signatory of the Arms Trade Treaty regulating conventional weapons and including small arms, battle tanks, and combat and aircraft and warships. He said, quote, my administration will never ratify the UN arms trade. We're taking our signature back. The United Nations will soon receive a formal notice that America is rejecting this treaty. Trump added that under my administration, I will never surrender American sovereignty to anyone, and he will never allow foreign bureaucrats to trample on the new Second Amendment freedom. Are officially announcing today that the United States will then be revoking that effect on America's signature from its badly misguided treaty. Unquote. The U.S. signed the treaty in 2013, but never ratified it. The NRA has long claimed that the treaty poses a threat to the Second Amendment, and then today its members stood applauding and chanting USA, USA as Trump signed that letter to Congress, halting ratification process, then tossed his pen into the crowd. So he's not giving in. I give Trump a lot of credit here in that department because, again, he is saving gun rights, and I think that's absolutely incredible. He is doing all he can, and that's real good, real good. Yes, storm in Charlottesville right now, getting caught on camera. I was looking at the video for this. Look at that storm. Wow. This is in Charlottesville. Wow. Yeah, they're getting it. Time for weather in the news. Interesting weather going down. Here in Clinton, Iowa, and some of the Quad Cities and some of that, it's going to get cold this weekend. And we're actually going to get snow. Oh, man. I know you're going to say, man, I better put explicit on this show. That's a 4-letter word. Yeah, we're going to get snow this weekend. They are predicting that snow is coming, but it's going to be a very small amount. They're talking maybe grassy areas, small amount of snow. It's not going to even measure that much. It's going to be a dusting. Virginia is getting really a lot of it. Where's Spotsylvania? Spotsylvania, and it shows a shot of what was known as a microburst, about a minute long to a minute and a half long. I mean, I'm looking at the video of this, and let me see if this has audio. It should have audio. Listen to this storm. I'll start it from the beginning. Check this out. Look at this cloud. Man. Ooh. It's a microburst. They're getting it, folks. Wow. A lot of wind blowing. A lot of wind kicking around. Whoa. That is in Spotsylvania. Anybody know where that's exactly at? Spotsylvania. Where is that? Look at that. Just one whale of a storm there kicking up. And that is a video from a guy named Kinsey, a young lady by the name of Kinsey Michelle, and posting that. Very interesting storm in where that's at. Anyway, there you go. Some interesting weather in different parts of the area. There's a tornado hitting Moco. So we got some interesting weather. We're going to be checking in with our friends at the Weather Nation a little later on, right here on GJRB Online. Give you a complete look at the national weather. Weather on the 5s coming up right now. We're going to do that. And then when we come back, we're going to take a little break. And let's see here. Coming back, we'll take a little break. And let's see, where is it? I want the national forecast. National maps. No national weather story tonight, I guess. Let's see. Okay, let me see if I can get into the forecast here. Okay. No national weather story. Okay, climate predictions, aviation, local, hurricane. Okay, well, no national weather story, but there you go. There are a lot of areas getting some interesting weather. We're going to take a look at that coming up right now. I'm going to pull up the National Weather Service on the computer real quick. do that. Maybe I'll get a decent page out of that just by going there, because I'm not getting it off the tablet. So I'm going to go to the National Weather Service page and pop that up. Here we go. So why don't we do that right now and do weather on the 5s, because we're getting pretty darn close to that point anyhow. So we're going to do weather on the 5s right now. And, yeah. So let's do that right now. Weather on the 5s. And take a look at our national weather map. Interesting weather. Severe thunderstorms are capable of damaging winds, and a few tornadoes have already been possible over the southeast. I've already been talking about that. Southeast USA into the mid-Atlantic this evening. There's been some microburst tornado warnings and stuff like that in Virginia. Heavy rainfall could lead to some flooding off with the largest threat to New England. And a stripe of heavy snow also forecast this weekend from eastern South Dakota across portions of the upper Midwest into southern lower Michigan. And that's the one I'll be talking about, because here in Clinton, Iowa, we are going to get snow this weekend. Brother, yeah, snowed this weekend. I mean, yeah, we thought we were done with winter, right? No, we're going to get some more of this stuff. So we're going to take a look at your weather coming up. Weather on the 5s, 25 and 45 minutes past the hour on all music shows, 25 and 55 on all talk shows, and way out there. And that's what we got right here on that now on GJRB Online. Way out there. The show that talks about the strange, the bizarre, the unusual. We got some really strange stories to talk about tonight. So I hope you'll stay with me for Way Out There here on GJRB Online. And this is where we do a lot of really neat stuff. Talk about the weird, the unusual. And coming up in this next half hour of the program, we'll be talking about some really weird stuff. No joke. I got a lot of interesting stuff. This next half hour was strange but true, including a story about a guy who bought a jukebox that he believes is the jukebox used in an episode of Night Gallery. Also coming up, another interesting story that we're going to talk about, including a time traveler who claims that he went way, way back 66 some odd million years ago and took a picture of a dinosaur. Yeah. This guy claims that he went back in time. He's a time traveler from the year 20, I think he said 20, what was it? 2048, I think. Something like that. And apparently, he came back in time and went way, way, way back to the million years ago, before man, and it's all dinosaurs apparently. So speculation, of course, but it's fun stuff. I like doing it, and I like telling the stories. They're fun. And so he had a video on Apex, and we're gonna have that all coming up next. It's pretty weird stuff. I'm telling you what, I love it though. I love it. I love talking about it. It's just neat stuff. And then coming up a little later on, we're going to some more interesting weird stories. And then at the top of the hour, right after the top of the hour break and after 9 o'clock, we'll have part 4 of Technocracy Rising, and talking about how they're going to use some of this technology to control man's and some of it's even controlling man's minds, if you want to look at it that way. So we've got that coming up, and I know you're going to want to check that out. And a lot of things going on, so I hope you'll stay with me for the